What's up, guys? So, Journey Beyond SODOR kinda sucks, and I'm gonna tell you all why. I'm going to just jump right into this and start right from the beginning. Before I get into this, I understand this movie was really popular with most Thomas fans, so I get that my opinion here is going to be in the minority. I just want to say that I don't think this movie is terrible, or the worst thing ever. It was definitely not as bad as I thought it would be. But honestly, after 13 Thomas movies, they all start to blend together, and I don't think this one really offered anything of note to make it stand out from the rest. It has some good elements in it that I really liked, as well as a lot of bad ones. Some really bad ones. All this movie really did for me was confirm some suspicions I had from the beginning and gave me a clearer idea of what the future of this franchise is. All of which I will get into as the review goes on. So please, just hear me out. Also, fair warning, I do swear. That is just the way I talk, and I think the energy present in swearing helps drive points better. If you are a child watching this, you probably shouldn't be. If you are a parent that is sitting near your child watching this, turn this off. This is a review meant for man-child Thomas fans like me, not little kids, so fair warning. Alright, let's get this started. So the movie starts with this really nice intro. A great scenic view of SODOR, with some great score, and great aerial shots of the engines doing their usual thing. However, if I had a shot every time a Thomas production started with the narrator saying, "The island of SODOR is," I'd be immediately inebriated. Now credit where credit is due. I really love the way this movie starts off with a literal bang. The plot begins with Henry taking a goods train to the mainland, but a faulty signal causes him to crash. The crash scene is quite brilliant, and I love how serious it's treated. Cars stop to avoid falling debris, people gasp, people run to the scene immediately. It feels real, like something very serious just occurred in a very busy part of town. But, of course, it's in slow something that is apparently becoming a norm of the franchise. This is literally just an item on a checklist at this point. Every Thomas movie is now contractually required to have a slow motion crash now, isn't it? Because LOL, funny, random, hee. So the epic title sequence ends and we're introduced to no one other than Thomas. We're only like 3 minutes into this when the movie immediately throws up a huge red flag.
Somebody has to be the favorite, the one that everybody wants to see.
The engines moving their bodies, or as it's come to be known as, bouncing. I don't like the term bouncing since it's not really bouncing, it's more like gesturing, I guess? But I'm going to call it bouncing because that's what the majority says. I might as well start ranting about it now. I think you all knew going into this video that this was going to be a big topic I'd bring up, so let's just get it over with. I'm putting the review on pause for a minute because I need to rant about this. Here we go. The bouncing is absolutely, without a doubt, the worst element about this movie. It looks ridiculous. It's visually distracting. And it's inconsistent. It switches on and off throughout the movie. There will be times where the engines are just talking like normal, and they're not bouncing. And then in the same scene, they'll start bouncing out of nowhere. It just looks incredibly odd, and I don't think I'll ever be able to accept it. Don't get me wrong, it could be a lot worse, but me saying this bad thing isn't as bad as it could be is the equivalent of me thanking a man with a knife for only stabbing me in the arm and not in the chest. If it was done more tastefully, I might not have such an issue with it. They've done things like this in the past and it worked just fine. For example, in the episode Gordon Runs Dry, there's this scene where Gordon takes a deep breath and while doing so, his body rises, and then falls when he exhales. It's so subtle you might not have noticed it. That's how well implemented it was. The weight of the engine was present and it wasn't a visual eyesore. If the bouncing was more subtle and easy on the eyes like this, I wouldn't even be ranting right now. But now everything's moving around and wobbles and has no weight at all. This bouncing goes against the rules of this universe, the rules everyone claims to cling onto and respect so well. This has sparked a huge controversy with Thomas fans. It's the only thing people seem to have talked about since the trailer came out. A lot of people are against it, while the rest of the fandom seem to be okay with it. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why anyone would be okay with this. If we continue to be passive about frequent changes and allow more and more little bads like this to seep into the show every year, what's stopping Mattel from doing worse next year, and the year after that? Last year everyone let the bridge jump slide, and now look where we are. Bouncing trains. I feel the bar everyone uses to judge the show keeps getting lower and lower every year. How much has to be changed in Thomas before people admit that too much is too much? What, when the trains start flying? Oh. To each their own, I guess, but I don't get this one. Everyone seems to draw the line somewhere. Some people drew the line after they stopped using Railway series stories in the show. Some people drew the line when the show went full CGI. Well, the engine's bouncing is where I draw mine. This is just too wacky. Okay, so now that rant is over, let's get back to the review. Oh, of course you're in this, Philip. Of course you had a line of dialogue. Of course you did. Of course. You're going to show up in every movie and episode with new characters forever now, aren't you? Bouncing aside, this whole part of the movie is just kind of meh. Remember that episode Reds vs. Blues from season 19? Yeah, this is basically that. It's Thomas and James competing and trying to make the other one mad. We haven't already seen this 1,000 times before. Thankfully it doesn't last long though. Unlike all that filler with Ashima in The Great Race that seems to drag on forever, the plot continues chugging along at a pretty quick pace here. James is to take Henry's goods train to the mainland, but Thomas steals it just to spite him. We're off to the mainland, folks! Adventure awaits!
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz!
So now we're in what most people would say is the poorest part of the movie visually. The mainland sets are just so bare here. There's a real lack of trees and buildings and bushes and ballast. It just looks so dystopian. It doesn't look like England, it looks more like the post-apocalypse. Now there is some reason for this that does make the bare sets a bit justifiable. As you all know, Art Productions, the animation company that animated Thomas, went bankrupt in August of last year. The company was eventually bought out by a company called Jamfield a month later. All went back to normal, although they lost a month of production. I don't think I'm wrong in making the assumption that they had to rush this movie out to meet Mattel's schedule. And boy oh boy, it totally shows in some scenes, especially these ones. Now, understanding the situation, I wouldn't even be bringing this whole matter up, however I am a bit confused at why some of the elements in this movie still exist then. For some inexplicable reason, it's 70 minutes long, 10 minutes longer than usual. That's 10 extra minutes of animation that needed to be worked on. And we have the stupid bouncing bodies now. Maybe if the movie wasn't needlessly long, or if Mattel still didn't demand the stupid bouncing trains, maybe more time could have went into making the sets look more complete in the final render. But hey, you all know Mattel's priorities, and apparently they don't care if quality slides, as long as they make their profit. Have you seen the new Thomas Wood stuff for next year? Yikes. Slips in animation like this doesn't really take away anything from the movie for me. Didn't really bother me, but I thought it was something that was worth addressing. Now I feel I need to give the Troublesome Trucks a mention in this. I love their banter in this.
I'd say it's Lostville.
Maybe it's confusing too.
Castle who knows where.
I love that the rolling stock variety has been expanded too. Tankers, vans, and slate wagons? Okay. All have faces now. It's such a nice visual change from just seeing the same old 7-plank wagons copy and pasted everywhere. Thomas arrives at some canal on his travels and meets a crane called Beresford. I hate this character. I really hate this character. Why do I hate this character, you ask? Because he adds nothing to the film, and all his scenes in this movie, yeah, all 2 of them, contain some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in Thomas the Tank Engine. You can almost forgive the nonsense of it if his scenes add anything of sustenance to the movie, which they don't. And here's why. The movie is 10 minutes longer than usual, and I don't know why. Why did this have to be 10 minutes longer? Who knows? So the rumor goes that Beresford's scenes were added in last minute just to add some running time onto the movie's length. And whether that was actually the case or not, it makes sense to me, and it totally shows. The movie could have cut right from Thomas getting lost at the junction to him being in that forest before the experimental engines yard. This scene didn't need to happen, rendering the whole point of Beresford existing at all pointless. They're not even making any toys of him, so I have really no idea why Mattel wanted to push him in the... Oh God! Hold up! Thomas, my boy. Don't do that, Thomas. Don't ever do that. Anyways, so my point is that I don't dislike the fact the movie's longer than usual. That's something I've always personally pressed for. I just don't think that longer runtime was used towards its advantage whatsoever, and that extra 10 minutes just contained useless filler with this pointless character. So Beresford sings the most redundant song in the film. While the other songs help advance the plot in some way, Beresford's just brings the story to a grinding halt. He is literally singing a song asking who Thomas is. It's the most redundant song in the world, and on top of it, it's not all that great of a song. If there's anything The Great Race did right, it was its songs. And I'm sure that's because it was the first musical and they had to make sure the music was good in it. The songs in Journey Beyond aren't bad. I mean, Beresford's song is pretty bad, but there's a few good ones. I just don't think they have the same punch and hummability that the Great Race songs did. But of course, that's just my opinion. So Beresford sings his obligatory song, and the bouncing bodies reaches a new level of ridiculousness. Shockingly, I don't really have an issue with the trucks bobbing about like this, because it's a music video. However, this triggered so many fans when the clip was first uploaded to YouTube, and I completely understand why. While the Great Race and Lost Treasure music videos were very obviously set outside of reality, Journey Beyond doesn't go to the effort to tell the audience that this isn't really happening. In fact, on a couple of occasions in the movie, the characters acknowledge the fact the others are singing.
I was going to sing a song then, not you.
Well, go ahead and sing if you want to.
From that big steelworks! You know, this is the hottest place in town!
It's very unclear and sets a strange vibe as to what's real and what's not in this. This could very well be the trucks bouncing around in reality. The movie doesn't really tell us it isn't, and that's why people are upset by it. I can completely understand and empathize with that. This wouldn't look so jarring if the trucks were moving around in front of some crazy, colorful background that very obviously wasn't a part of the movie's reality. So Thomas ditches Beresford, thank God, and finds himself in the experimental engines yard, where he meets Chuggington and Fergus. I hate these characters. Actually, I take that back. Fergus is alright, because he barely does anything in the movie, so there's not all that much to dislike about him. Plus, I liked his episodes in Season 7, so this character comeback was actually quite welcome. Chuggington, however, is annoying as sin. What the hell is up with her switching accents every 2 seconds? Like, I get that her character is supposed to be quirky, but why is she so crazy? Was this some sort of demand from Mattel that an ADHD-fueled character with funny voices had to appear in this movie just to keep the kids invested whenever she was on the screen? The answer is obviously yes. Chuggington bounces her body so much that it is so fucking distracting. She is the most Chuggington-esque character in the Thomas franchise. She reminds me of that green one that can raise up and swivel her body around. These two characters, while they both have some really interesting designs, and I'm not denying that their looks are intriguing, are ultimately pointless to the plot of this movie, and the scenes with them really drag, in my opinion. The song they sing later on goes on for way too long. When I first heard about these characters, I originally thought the point of the experimentals was that they were deemed useless and were hiding from being scrapped from what I assumed was Hurricane and Frankie at the Steelworks, hence why they're all scratched up and rusty and falling apart. I mean, it seemed to add up. Merlin's whole gimmick is that he's a really good hider, but that wasn't the case. They were just there. They just exist in this yard, because reasons. Why are they in Steam? Who knows? If they're useless and don't do anything, why do people come to this yard and steam them? It's never explained. This is literally Misty Island all over again. But I think the main issue I take with all these new characters is that I don't find them all that original. I look at them and all I see are characters that already exist in the Thomas universe. Fergus is Fergus. Chuggington is an even crazier Marion. Beresford is just a Merrick, or a Reg, some random crane that will never appear again. They all just feel so half-assed and forced. There is, however, one exception I can make to that, and that's Merlin. Merlin doesn't appear in the movie as much as I hoped he would, and just like the other experimentals, doesn't really add anything. However, there is something really redeemable about him.
Invisibility on!
He thinks he has the power to become invisible. I find this concept so genius because of how the writers came to it. The real King Arthur class Merlin is based on had 3 funnels just like him, which were implemented to disperse more smoke above him and hide it from World War II bombers above. Hence, invisible. They even touch on this in the movie, which was really welcome. There's something really clever going on here with this character, and it's a shame he was so underused. He almost feels like he was written in last minute just to give Hugh Bonneville a character to voice. And credit where credit's due, Hugh does a great job voicing him. I have an idea of how the plot could be fixed to make Merlin more prominent in this, and I will explain all of that later in the review. In short, I didn't care much at all for the experimental engines. They're a fun concept with fun designs, but ultimately aren't that original and feel very out of place in this particular story. Thomas goes on his way and comes across the steelworks. Now, the reveal of the steelworks is fantastic.
Thomas, I have a feeling we're not on SODOR anymore.
I love the dramatic build-up, and Chris Renshaw's score really assists in the off factor. Definitely this movie's token cinematic moment. We are introduced to Hurricane and Frankie. You know, even though we just had a cool reveal scene, this run of the movie feels very weirdly paced. We just had 3 unrelated scenes of Thomas meeting new characters back to back, with no breaks in between. It isn't really woven together all that well. But I digress. Thomas meets Frankie and Hurricane and immediately starts complaining to them about James. Classic Thomas. Now, I really like Hurricane and Frankie, and they're definitely the standout newbies of the movie. The marketing wanted you to think it was gonna be this guy, but really, it's these guys. The whole steelwork concept is a great idea, and I love that they really heavily push the industry part of it. Frankie and Hurricane seem warm and inviting on the outside, but on the inside, they're this malicious couple that hold engines hostage and don't let them leave for reasons unknown. They have fun designs and fun characterizations. Frankie's the more maniacal one and wears the pants of the two, while Hurricane is the bronze and has a slight glow of a conscience. You can tell he's not okay with some of the crap Frankie has him do. This is really fun characterization. And as much as I like these two, Frankie's voice is fucking grating at times, especially at the end.
But...
Oh god, make it stop! You gotta wonder though, what happened to the other engines they trapped at the steelworks before Thomas? Frankie says at one point that Thomas is her favorite.
In fact, I'd say he might be my favorite new engine.
Implying there were others. What the hell happened to them? Did they all escape? Did they kill them? What did they do? And of course a song starts. And to be fair, it's a pretty good one, but it goes on for way too long. Meanwhile, back on SODOR.
Delayed? Oh no! I only thought he was lost.
What? Isn't being lost way worse than being delayed? That's all I wanted to say about this scene. Hurricane tells Thomas he delivered his train to Bridlington. Thomas decides he better head back home then, but Frankie and Hurricane won't let him. Thomas starts to realize that Hurricane and Frankie are not who he thought they were. He then sings a song I can't remember any of the lyrics to about missing his friends back home. And literally every standard gauge engine appears on screen except for Duck. Ha ha! What a takedown! Thomas tries to escape and gets caught in what looks more like a booby trap than an old track. Dumbass. Meanwhile, back at the sheds, the engines are all worried about Thomas and holy mother of God, Edward talked! There is a God, oh, thank you, Lord! While the bouncing looks weird on the newbies, it looks especially weird on the main characters. I'm sorry, but there is something so unsettling about watching Gordon move his body around while he talks. Edward moving his body around makes me want to literally stick a fork in my eye. James decides to go find Thomas and figure out what's going on. Thomas finally manages to escape the steelworks and while hiding, meets Merlin. Merlin's introduction into this is so great, but it's so far into the movie. Seriously, this is at the 45-minute mark of a 70-minute movie. What a waste! James arrives at Bridlington and asks some Gronks if they've seen Thomas. Now this scene was hilarious. The fact we see the railway show diesels up close was fun enough, but the fact they're these Gavones from New Jersey that are as dumb with life as we are is what makes it.
Ole, you seen a cheeky blue tank engine, numbered 1?
Nope.
Bravo, Brenner, bravo! I can say without a doubt that no matter how dumb and stupid Thomas gets, we'll always get little gems of scenes like this. At least while Brenner is still head writer. Is that enough to keep watching with all the other crappy cartoon nonsense working against it? We'll discuss that later. James spots the trucks Thomas brought and they tell him that he's at the steelworks. Also, minor point, but why did they choose Bridlington of all places? Bridlington ain't anything special. Why not some place with an actual huge goods yard in real life, like York? Such a bizarre decision. Thomas meets that abomination of a character called Beresford again, and he provides us with some visual cringe so cringeworthy that I can't talk about this scene without getting upset. Beresford just picks Thomas up with his hook, like it's no big deal. Why do the engines and rolling stock in this movie have no weight to them? He's just throwing Thomas around like he's a toy. It's so ridiculous. Screw Beresford, screw Thomas, screw this movie, screw the corporate think tanks at Mattel that forced Brenner to write this scene in, and most of all, screw I'm sorry, I got a little carried away there. Where was I? So Thomas sees James heading to the steelworks with Hurricane and Frankie and recruits the experimental engines to help him go save him. I just want to point out again that it is so obvious this scene with Beresford was added in after the fact. Thomas is at the experimentals yard in the scene right before this, and he's there again right after this. Why did he leave the yard? Just so we could have another scene with Beresford again? I have no doubt in my mind that he was originally supposed to witness James with Hurricane and Frankie in another location, like a siding or something, while in an attempt to get back home. Hurricane and Frankie sing their song to James, and James is just as up to here with this movie's nonsense as the audience is, and he just interrupts the song, and it's the best moment of the movie, and I laugh my friggin' ass off. James, your last few scenes have been the saving grace of this zany film. God bless you. Oh, no. This is the kind of shit that makes me want to hate this movie. Why is there so much stupid cartoon crap in this? They're not even on tracks. How did they hide under the bushes and peer up like that? That wasn't even a musical number. That was supposed to be in the reality of the movie, and it makes me want to slit my wrist with a butcher's knife. Chuggington and Fergus distract Hurricane and Frankie while Thomas goes to save James. Merlin, meanwhile, does absolutely nothing. Merlin's only contribution to this whole film is that he warns Thomas that Hurricane and Frankie are coming back. That's it. That's all this character contributes to the plot. What a waste! The experimental engines were not handled properly at all in this. They all had potential, but were glossed over. Well, Unlucky Tug, how would you fix it to make the experimental engines better? Well, I'm glad you asked. To make the experimental engines better, all you have to do is get rid of these two and just keep Merlin. The only new characters this movie needed were Hurricane, Frankie, and one experimental engine. Since Merlin has the most creative design, backstory, a celebrity voicing him, and isn't annoying as all sin like Chuggington over there, I say this experimental engine should be him. Merlin has so much potential as a character, and the movie should have taken advantage of that. Merlin should have been this mysterious engine Thomas meets on his travels, who is constantly on the run from being scrapped, hence why he hides and is so good at it. Thomas then enlists his help later on to save James, and Merlin distracts Hurricane and Frankie. Then when the shit hits the fan, Merlin joins in and helps save James during the film's climax. Having 3 engines do what is pretty much one character's role is just extreme overkill. Okay, so the most unrealistic, ridiculous, over-the-top cartoony would make Wilbert Audrey spin faster and his grave hijinks occur in the steelworks. Oh no, James is going to crash into some trucks in his way. Psych. Fergus pushes them out of the way just in time. Yay! But uh-oh, the trucks derail and conveniently hit a switch. Of course they do. A magnet grabs Thomas. Uh-oh, Thomas is gonna get dropped in molten steel. Of course he is. I'm on the edge of my seat. Oh, what a surprise. Something pushes him out of the way just in the lick of time. Yay! I was so worried Thomas would actually get dropped in molten steel and die. The steel dumps over and melts Hurricane's wheels. And all the engines gather around him and cheer as if melting Hurricane's wheels was their very intention from the beginning. Shut up! Frankie and Hurricane explain the reason they bring engines here and keep them hostage is that there's too much work for them to handle on their own. What? This is the weakest frickin' villain motivation ever! So in a very rapid change of tone, the movie now wants you to feel sorry for the bad guys even though 20 seconds prior they were trying to trap our heroes as they were trying to escape from them. Now they're huddled around and soothing them? What? This whole climax has such a bizarre mixed message. You shouldn't be sympathizing with the villains that held you captive. This is Stockholm Syndrome, the movie. Frankie and Hurricane get absolutely no serious repercussions for their actions throughout all of this, and get what they wanted in the end anyways. We have been told throughout the movie that the Steelworks is a very bad place, and now suddenly it's fine, and the experimentals are going to work there and be a big happy family. Barf! This is just lazy storytelling. When villains aren't given repercussions for their actions, the movie is left feeling hollow and unsatisfactory. It was so awesome to see Sailor John get arrested at the end of Lost Treasure, a very real consequence for his actions, and a lesson that kids should learn. Your actions have consequences. Hell, it was satisfying in The Great Race when that pylon fell on Vinny. Even frickin' Sharon Miller understood this basic concept. The scene where Sir Topham Hatt tells off Diesel 10 and Day of the Diesels, one of the shittiest Thomas movies ever, provided some actual visual repercussions for the villain's actions. Obviously, Andrew Brenner understands this because he's implemented it before, so why it's so glossed over and rushed here is absolutely beyond me. If you ask me, the experimentals should have found a way to trap Hurricane and Frankie. Like Hurricane's wheels got melted, like they did, and that giant magnet that grabbed Thomas before grabs Frankie, and the two are left rendered immobile and left there. Or maybe Thomas and James cause him to tip over on that slag tip, cab over wheel style, and leave him there. Or maybe Merlin goes off and gets the authorities involved during all the hijinks and they take care of them. Or maybe since Hurricane already showed signs of being a nice guy earlier on, redeem him and have him decide to help the others last minute and backstab Frankie. You know, a proper redemption arc. I'm just spitballing ideas here, and all of them sound more fun and satisfying than what the movie gave us. This stupid, sappy, quick must redeem the bad guys at the end because kids' movie is so lame and hollow. The experimentals stay behind and Thomas and James just leave and sing a song and the fucking movie ends. So yeah, that was it. That was Journey Beyond SODOR. Oh boy, what a ride. I can safely say that this movie was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it's not really good either. The writing isn't the real issue. From a story standpoint, there isn't much wrong with Journey Beyond other than little things like underusing the character with the most potential and that incredibly lazy ending. It's much more focused and knows what it wants to be more than The Great Race did, so I do rank it slightly higher than it for that alone. But does being slightly better than The Great Race mean it's still good? It's like getting a 60% on a term paper. Technically, yeah, you did more good than bad, but it's still a D-, and you didn't pass. Journey Beyond has so many things working against it, like the bouncing, the stupid over-the-top wacky cartoon hijinks, and that incredibly fast ADHD pacing. What I really want to address now is the question I posed earlier in the review. Is this movie, and more generally speaking, the entirety of modern Thomas to come, good enough for fans like me to keep watching? Well, it's hard to say. While I didn't think the story was that bad, I was appalled by all the crazy cartoon crap in this. It was almost shocking. I thought The Great Race was bad enough with its stupid crap like the bridge jump, but Journey Beyond takes it to an all new level. From Thomas being hoisted by Beresford's hook on a whim, Thomas being thrown around the steelworks like a volleyball, or the visual cancer that is the engines bouncing their bodies like Pixar cars, I don't know what's worse. This is Thomas now, and to be quite honest, I don't think any amount of good writing can redeem this, because at this point, it's not Thomas anymore. Now, I'm not expecting Railway Series quality here. I've never expected that. I'm not even expecting classic era quality. But for the love of God, is asking for the basic laws of gravity to always be present in Thomas the Tank Engine really that much to ask for? I don't doubt the writing capabilities of Andrew Brenner. And when it comes to what happens in these movies, it's not him who gets the final say. It's Mattel, and Mattel will twist and turn Thomas in whatever way they can to squeeze out as much profit as possible. At the end of the day, trash is trash. It may be well-written trash, but it's still trash. You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. And I'm sorry, but Thomas is really starting to stink like fresh poo-poo right about now. Frequent argument I've seen in all this Journey Beyond controversy is that fans like me shouldn't be criticizing because we are not the target demographic. Fans have complained about the show ever since an online fan following was around. If we can't give our opinions about what's going on in the show currently, what's even the point of having a fandom to begin with? What, so we can all group together and only share our positive opinions about the show? Yuck! No thank you! I think I'll stick to my freedom of speech, thank you very much. Journey Beyond SODOR was a really horrible glimpse into Thomas's future. I know there's many fans who don't see it this way and choose to remain positive, and that's fine. But when a cynic like me watches this and is aware that Mattel revamping the series to make Thomas go literally around the world is on the horizon, and with rumors swarming around that Edward and Henry are going to be written off the STEAM team, how can one not speculate about the future? This is why I did not like this movie. I can't stress enough that my problems with the movie is not the writing or the story. It's basically everything else. If this weren't a Thomas the Tank Engine movie, I'd probably enjoy it a lot more. But the fact of the matter is that it is a Thomas the Tank Engine movie, and it gets so many elements about the series universe wrong. Hell, it gets the basic law of gravity wrong, and that's something I just can't overlook. Now, I've said before, I don't mind if the show rides that line of realism. It can be as unrealistic as it wants, so long as it's done tastefully. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see the engines bobbing their bodies around like Pixar cars, or Beresford picking Thomas up with his hook and dumping him in a river being really all that tasteful. It's hot, gimmicky garbage. Any change made should be in taste of the franchise and in favor of the story they are trying to tell. Does any of this change help enhance this particular story in any way? Nope. I understand the need for change to keep things fresh. But is Thomas really something that needs to be changed frequently every year? Changing Thomas so frequently makes it lose its timelessness and dates it. Mattel feels the need to appease this new generation of kids full of energy that are being raised on iPads and can't fucking sit still for 5 minutes because everything is handed to them. Trust me, I have a little cousin who's 7 years old now and is just like this. I know. If things aren't always moving around in front of them and handed to them on a silver platter, the kids will lose interest and click on something else. So everything has to fucking bounce and move and be edited really quickly and have a super fast ADHD pace. When Journey Beyond SODOR isn't being super cartoony and over the top and constantly in your face with stuff like this, it's being really mediocre and utilizing tropes we've seen in the franchise before. Oh, Thomas and James are competing with each other. How original. Oh, Thomas is upset that he may not be Sir Topham Hatt's favorite engine. We haven't seen this plot trope at all in the past 2 movies in a row before this. Thomas meets some wacky characters in a new location that ultimately help with the movie's end goal. Great. Sir Topham Hatt is worried about Thomas being lost. Haven't seen that before! Journey Beyond SODOR is the franchise's first major step into a direction I just don't want to see Thomas go in. And frankly, I'm not sure I can really stick along for this ride much longer. I found the months leading up to this movie exhausting. All this bickering and complaining online, all for an almost passable mediocre cartoony movie that really wasn't worth my time. Journey Beyond marketed itself by controversy and split the fandom in half. While the Great Races marketing campaign was obnoxious as hell, at least it was actual content being given to us. All Journey Beyond did was the bare minimum. A trailer, some obligatory mini-doc, sprinkled some trigger words and articles, and we all argued and argued and argued for months on end. I like to argue, but at this point, I'm exhausted. I'd like to remain hopeful for Season 21, but as soon as that Around the World Season 22 thing kicks into high gear, I am out. I cannot be the only one who feels this way. We are on the Titanic, people, and there is an iceberg ahead of us. We haven't hit it yet, but holy hell, we are getting close. Very, very close. Maybe we shouldn't ignore it. I'll always love Thomas no matter what, but I love it too much to watch it sink in deep water a second time. What's coming seems like nothing more than a real kick in the gut to everything Andrew Brenner, Ian McHugh, the rest of the current team, and the fandom have strived for in these last couple years. I have nothing but respect for Andrew Brenner for having to put up with all these silly, wacky, ridiculous requests from Mattel, and finding some way to work them into the movies each year, even if they don't always work, and they definitely didn't work this year. The future of Thomas and his friends is very uncertain. I know that's very depressing and probably not what you wanted to hear in a funny, light-hearted Unlucky Tug review video, but that's just the way I feel, folks. If you like Journey Beyond SODOR, more power to you. A lot of fans did, and that's totally fine, and I'm not going to make you feel bad because of it. I'm just merely pointing out the facts and connecting the dots and telling you how I feel about it is all. The future was already starting to look really bumpy in my eyes, and Journey Beyond SODOR did not help smooth it out whatsoever. Oh yeah, Rosie also talked in this.